Hey everybody, welcome back to the Old Swedes Farm. It's been 2 weeks since we did our garden update. I wanted to give you another one because things are exploding. It's just amazing what's happened in 2 weeks. First off, I want to show you, I think on the last video, the corn was 4 feet tall. We're 2 weeks later, now I'm about 6 feet tall. The corn is, it's just starting to tassel, but we're probably 7 feet now. So I'm gonna walk around at the start here and kind of just show you what's going on with the squash. Lots. We're into total maintenance mode here on weeds. We've been removing weeds by hand, burning, digging, you name it. But let me show you what we got. Spin this around. The hills, you'll notice, let me get a backdrop here. The hills are really taking off. First, our tomatoes we kind of threw in here. They're starting to get going. There's a couple that have been chowed down. We had a few bunnies going on, but they're doing all right. Our buttercup, I can't remember, Hubbard squash. Some of the other squash, I think we've got like spaghetti squash and butternut. There's our Big Macs pumpkins. They're really working good on the hill. Watermelon. I think those are Jack B. Littles. I forget. All this, we got lots of squash going on. So I don't need to tell you each one. The ones back here, doing well, trying to just keep weeds, like I said, keep weeds at bay. And I haven't been out here as much as before. Out here, you can see I'll burn, pull by hand and burn to stay ahead of it, just so when it vines out and starts going, I'm ahead of it. And it's hard to stay ahead of it. 2 weeks ago, these were still just seeds underground. Here's our summer yellow squash. And then our zucchinis, and so they're really coming along. Looking over the top, just our potatoes, the white and red potatoes, and then one of the onions, doing really well. Our peppers are just really growing well. I've got them staked now. I've got them adhered to the stake. I've trimmed up. I always trim up the peppers just so, there's not so much growth down at the ground. I want to force them upward and to get their fruit on. We had some bolting that I need to cut off of the broccoli and our cabbage. I need to just cut that out completely because we have cabbage coming. The next batch of cabbage I need to get planted. There's still a few heads that I need to pull this week for our CSA folks. Let me bring you in here. We got to get some more carrots planted in this first one. The radishes have been doing great, and the people have been really digging those. Got little eggplants on the eggplant. These eggplants are probably about 2.5 feet tall now. They're really doing well. The pepperoncinis, some of these, all sorts of peppers already on there. So just waiting for them to flesh out. The habaneros are getting taller. They finally kind of hit their stride and are starting to get bigger. These are, I think, the poblano. They're getting bigger, look good. And then all the green, yellow, red peppers that have done good, and I think there's an ancho, I forget. The Brussels sprouts are doing pretty good. They usually wait till it gets a little cooler and then start rocking. Here's our other onions, and then carrots and kohlrabi. And there's some of the method of watering all of this. We've been really working the weeding, and we're going to start working garden fabric here. But our cucumbers, we just Holly just got the first cucumbers picked, and as you can see, there's just blooms all over the place, and they're starting to grab hold of the cattle panel and come upward. The peas, Holly's had pounds of peas that she's been putting away, plus we've been getting them out to our folks on a CSA, both the shelled peas and then our the other peas for pea pods and such. The beans just loaded with blossoms, and we're starting to see the little beans on there. You know, all sorts of beautiful little beans on there. So our CSA folks are going to be getting those this week for the first time, and we're going to be putting away a lot of them for the winter. Now our tomatoes, this tomato alley has really done well. It is probably, some of these plants are about 5 feet tall, and we got the fabric down, got rid of the hornworms. Some of them are just not faring as well, and I don't know if that's just how they grow. They just curl constantly, but we've got, you know, lots of fruit, lots of good fruit on there, whether it's, you know, some of the meaty sauce tomatoes or some of the smaller cherry tomatoes. Holly's got her little pear tomatoes that are starting to throw a whole bunch on there. Hopefully you're seeing all that. For me, it's constantly, you know, cutting and training, moving them upward. You know, some of these are just, you know, you see all the fruit that's in there. So by probably in 2 weeks, we'll be harvesting, which is good. Looking over the top, our acorn squash, and then the next planting of acorn squash right around the edge, going all the way down. Just things are really popping. I am working on trying to get rid of weeds in a larger area. Just threw a tarp down and some composted bags on there just to see if we could burn it out. Our watermelon, Georgia rattlesnake, is really taking off, starting to expand, and I'm staying ahead of it, staying ahead of the growth, so that's a good sign. The baby doll is not quite as developed. I don't think it'll be as aggressive a grower as the Georgia rattlesnake, but staying ahead of that. Got our Waltham squash here. We got some cantaloupe back there. A few more tomatoes on the side that were spares that we're just growing for, just to grow them. But the peas and beans doing really well, several feet tall. We're working on, if I can back up, on the other side of the tomatoes here, we're gonna put another layer of fabric down, and on this side of the tomatoes, we're gonna plant the next planting of peas and let them grow up into the tomatoes, since there's support there, and since these peas are really going great guns right now. Compost pile's doing good, just adding stuff to it, and that's next year's good soil. And Holly threw down a couple of herbs. So it's been 2 weeks, and wow, the development has just been fantastic over 2 weeks. It is amazing what happens over 2 weeks. I'm out here every day in the morning and at night, weeding, training things, feeding them, watering, whatever, and you see little incremental growth, but then you see over 2 weeks. I'll put it at the end, but go back and watch just 2 weeks ago, our garden video number 2, unreal. The change between that video and this video. And there's probably, you can see, there's gonna be even more in 2 weeks. Who knows? We'll be picking, we'll be in a full harvest mode, so it's gonna be nuts. Anyways, thank you all. It's fun watching your gardens on your videos and how your gardens are developing, and I just want to share how ours is doing. Thanks everybody, take care, have a great week.